It's time for our weekly segment of Future Shock 2.0 with the great workforce trends expert, Ira Wolfe, here talking to me about the latest concerns on artificial intelligence. Ira Wolfe, welcome back for Future Shock 2.0. Lots and lots of talk about artificial intelligence. We've talked about it in previous segments, but now there are ethical concerns, practical concerns that AI, if it's not checked, if there's not a pause, it could wreak havoc on humanity. Lots of bad stuff could happen. So how do you measure the risks versus benefits? Where is all this going on AI, Ira?
Hey, thanks, John, for having me back on Future Shock 2.0. That's a great topic, and everything you said is absolutely true. My tagline on LinkedIn is I'm fascinated and terrified by exponential change, by the future of work. And this certainly fits that category. So on the one hand, I'm an avid user of ChatGPT, which is, the closest that I can get to AI on an everyday basis, or an advanced AI on an everyday basis. So I use it all the time. Lots of opportunities. I see that. Lots of growth. But there are legitimate concerns because there are no rails on it. There's no regulations. And that was the crux of the recent letter that was sent out by 800 leaders, very influential leaders, with that concern. The challenge is how, we can't get our regulators to agree on the most common things. And even when we do, they get challenged, rules that have been in place for 20 and 30 years. How do we get the people that need to put some guardrails in there, and not to stop it, but to put some legitimate guardrails in there to understand it? So there are legitimate concerns. I mean, one of them is a lot of information right now, and it certainly affects you as a journalist, all of it, anybody who creates content, is that there are no safeguards. I mean, there's no, what happens to intellectual property, that it's scanning any type of information that it uses. There's some built-in, especially living in the world of HR and future work, there's a lot of biases, racial and sexual biases that are built into that. For sure. It generates a lot of misinformation, which is a worldwide problem that we're being impacted by, and people don't seem to have the skill to scrutinize that, to differentiate between what's misinformation and the critical thinking skills to get that down. It also, and it's, even I feel I need to be careful with this, and sometimes we're in awe of the outputs that we get from it. We ask it a simple question and it comes up, but it really is giving the illusion of understanding. It gives the illusion of understanding, but it doesn't necessarily understand. And it's actually not very good in math. Ironically, that we do this. But I just read this, and it might have been in one of the articles we shared with each other, that artificial general intelligence, which is the next level up. I mean, that's the scary part. The parts of like ChatGPT and things is not quite there yet. But it talked about what if AI, what if the technology can train itself on psychology and economics? Then it also has access to our public information. Hopefully it doesn't have access to our private information. But if it knew who you and I are out there all the time, we're talking about our viewpoints and we're publishing them on LinkedIn and we do our podcast. So it knows our personal viewpoints and it can study psychology and economics. Could it communicate with us knowing who we are in a way to essentially bribe us or skew the answers? And I'm not the expert on this, but I would say yes, that we can get into a conversation with it, and it's going to be a heck of a lot smarter than we are at understanding it. It's going to understand us better. And so could it manipulate us? And then what's the guardrail on that? So, I mean, that's the really scary part. And so I agree with the letter that came out, with the concerns that it's terrifying. My challenge is I don't know how you put the toothpaste back in the tube with this. And I wish we can look toward Congress, regulators, government, or defer it to experts that could put a plan in place that is more objective, not biased. But I don't know how we get agreement on that. Obviously, you can take 1,000 of the greatest minds in the world and put them together and say, here's what the regulations could be. But if all the governments don't implement that, don't accept it, then, it's just hearsay. I mean, it's just a nice to have. But there's so many advantages that can come from that. I mean, I'm excited about the opportunity. Could it help us predict climate control? Not predict, but, solve climate control, some of the climate problems. Financial poverty, cancer, medical. I mean, it's already found solutions and a lot of basically don't want to go into the politics of it, but the COVID vaccine, the COVID-19 vaccine was through artificial intelligence. I mean, it was through technology that it was created. So there are fixes and there are many diseases that we have and chronic diseases that could be cured because of that. Again, clean water, clean air. That it's just going to be able to calculate, or find solutions and calculate that so much faster. But is there a danger? Yeah, absolutely.
We'll have more from Ira Wolfe next week. Ira is a workforce trends expert, a top 5 global thought leader in his field, a TEDx talker and host of the popular Geeks, Geezers and Googlization podcast.